Hello everyone, welcome to Secret to Success episode 8 and today I have with me Grandmaster Sundararajan Kidambi, one of the most knowledgeable chess persons in Indian chess. Welcome Anna for coming on the show and
Thank you for inviting. Hello.
audience please just confirm now if the audio is okay. I hope everything is okay. So we can move forward. Yeah, so first of all, how are you doing in this like COVID period? How have you been coping with the like lockdown and all?
Yeah, it's been going fine. Okay, locked at home is a very new experience, and more than that, I cannot remember a time when I have not played a chess tournament for more than 6 months. I have to go back to when I was before I learned chess. I think
Yeah,
even during 10th standard one, it was never more than a 6 month break of not playing tournaments. So that's the newest thing. I've been doing some just training and all that coaching, and so that's. I mean, I'm associated with chess, but not too fond of online chess, so I'm not playing much, and
yeah.
that's been the new thing.
And I wanted to start from the beginning. So first of all, how did you start chess? At what age did you start chess? And how did the interest grew slowly?
Okay, age. I don't exactly remember the age. It was probably that I was 8 years old. My father actually was very interested in cricket, so he had actually put me in cricket class and so on. But I was not doing so well there, and
Yeah,
we had some competition in our street. They had all sorts of competitions, quiz competition, chess, cricket, and everything. And I think I was just taught the rules by one of my neighbors who was in college at the time, so much elder to me. I was probably in fourth or standard. I don't remember exactly. Maybe younger than that. And apparently, I did pretty well. Like I qualified to the semi-finals of the tournament or something. So he said, "Your son." He told my father, "Your son has good spark for chess, so put him to some class and so on." So by the time I started playing tournaments, it was already 10. So by today's standards, it's very old, but at that time it was really young. It's, people are not playing that much. We did not know so much about chess. So because I don't come from a family who has any chess players. So
yeah.
my parents had absolutely no idea. It was completely by accident. We were put into, I mean, my neighbors told my dad to put me into some chess class, and then I got interested. Slowly came into the chess world by trial and error. I started, and I've I enjoyed the process actually from
and
going
uh,
from there.
and like when you started chess, like some people play chess for fun and some people they want to succeed at it. So what was your initial motivation? Were you just playing to enjoy chess, or you had specific goal in your mind?
See, first when I started, okay, I got some immediately after when I first started just playing without books. That was nothing. I didn't have anything in mind. I was too young. But after some classes and all, I got a few books. I think I got some Capablanca chess fundamentals, then some book where play better chess or something. It had games of Morphy and also I was just. It was very nice to see those games. So the first attraction towards the game was its beauty. Like
Yeah,
the complexity is there, but also sacrifices and mate and so on. And not that that reflects in my style, but that was what attracted most. And I think it was more for enjoying the game, and it's kind of an addictive thing. Like I could not keep my mind away from it, so it was more that part which captivated me a lot. I think achieving and other things came a bit later, like not when I was that young. Maybe when I became 12 or 13 or 14, all some you see your peers, then you go for state, national, and all. Then achievement or goal comes into being. But initially, when I started, I had no idea. I mean, it was more like a hobby, so I had no idea it was a field in itself even.
yeah. And like when starting chess, everyone has this question how to improve chess and so on. Like some people start at a young age and usually they have a coach or something. And some people when they start late, they usually don't have a chess coach. So generally, when you were starting chess, how did you improve your chess from a beginner to becoming a professional chess player or something? And how should one approach chess in general? Like how should they improve chess?
Okay, first of all, this is going back to 1991 or something, so completely different times, and there was not so much exposure, so it may not be applicable to current times. But at that time, the main thing is you generally, even who are interested, not having a coach or something, you don't know what is happening. There is not much information going around. I mean, you can read in the newspaper about Viswanathan Anand winning something or Praveen Tipse winning some tournament. That's the max. That's the most you get exposure about chess. And so, I mean, it was a journey. Like we went to different coaches, different things happened. Then things stuck in a place, and mainly I think the most important thing is to have a very good love for the game, and then uh, more about you have to play a lot. I think that is applicable even today, because I see in youngsters that they are playing a lot of blitz and bullet, which is not like, from my time it is considered almost like a blasphemy. You should not play blitz or bullet in group, but things have changed. But what I see is like playing and learning more. That was how all the great players improved. Even like times from Anand or Fischer, they played a lot of tournaments, and even if not tournaments, casual games. So more you learn by practice. But of course, if you have a good trainer, it definitely helps, because otherwise you have to waste a lot of time by doing the wrong things and coming back, which also is not bad, because if you do some things that don't work, you still learn. And if you are not after records but only enjoying the game, you might achieve a little later, but it will be long standing, so it's not a problem. I think even today, even with the advent of information coming so much and all that, you it's not important that you have a very good coach or something, but some trainer who can guide you, who knows what is chess, and lets you practice and develop your own skills in your own way. Like the more you practice, and okay, you meet friends, you learn from a lot of things, not only books. You learn from books, you learn from coaches, you learn from peers, friends, you learn from watching games, and you learn from the tournament atmosphere itself. Like for example, I mean, there were only one round per day at that time, 7 hours chess when I started. I mean, even there were adjournments. So we had a lot of time to go around, see other boards, and after the game, analyze each other's game. It's not like you treat other as a competitor or so on. So you have nothing else to do. You don't have computer, you don't have notes. So that gave a lot of exposure in my time. It's more about getting immersed yourself into the game. I think even if it's not fortunate enough that you have a good coach or so on, whether you start early or you start late, if you're immersing yourself into the game, I think the way will be shown to you
Yeah.
on how to improve.
And like I think Capablanca said this, that once everyone has to start with endgames or something. So generally, do you think that approach is good for beginners to study endgames first and then immerse into some other aspects of chess, or you think it's just outdated thing that Capablanca just said?
No. I think it's very, very valid. It's a brilliant statement by Capablanca. At first, I did not understand like why he is telling this, because yeah, the first book I studied was his book, so he has clearly mentioned this. Uh, I'm not sure if I followed it properly or not. That, I mean, I cannot quote my own example, but I think it's a very, very deep statement. Now, with maturity and over the years, now that I am training people, also I understand the importance of the statement. I mean, methods can change, but fundamentals will never change. That is what I mean. He wrote this book like more than 100 years ago, and it's still very, very valid. I'll tell you why I think so is because if you learn endgames first, it's not about only trying to win many games in endgames or so on. It's more about you understand the way the pieces work. Like if I teach a student from the middle game or the opening, it's very difficult for me to classify it into something clear. Like it is complicated, right? It's very complicated, and there are many parameters involved. Whereas in the end game, you can see how pieces are used efficiently. Like if you're studying a rook in game, there is only rook. So you understand how a rook is working. And similarly for other end games, how you understand the properties of pawns and pieces well. And once you build that fundamental, then you learn middle game and opening. You are going to do that so much better. So his statement is very valid, and I think it will be applicable whatever changes that happen in technology or the game changes. This the way to learn will not change. It will, I mean, but not everybody learns this way. But I think it's a very very good approach to learn end games well, as one can see from Carlsen's games and so on. So
Yeah.
still very valid approach.
And like especially when people are starting, like many people give up very quickly due to several reasons. Maybe it's due to parents pressure, or in general they don't like to lose or something. So generally, what do you think should be the approach to the game, especially for young kids who are just starting?
Yeah, I see this often. I think one thing that is wrong is they are already coming into the game with some clear targets in mind. Like I have to become so and so by so and so. Like at 14 I am GM, whatever. Right? I mean, I'm not particularly saying one particular target in mind, but it's not good. It's not at all a good idea to come with targets even before knowing the game. So first you enjoy the game. Come to the game, come into the field, play. If you like it more, then at some point you will achieve targets. So I think that is how most of the. I think you can also testify this. Like it's not like you came into the game to become a GM or something, but you became a GM like at a very young age. It's not like you had an aim to do this, and that's how it should be. Because if you have an aim, it will become a pressure and it will become more like a work. It should not be. First and foremost, it's a game, and it should remain so. Achievement should come later. If you don't have a particular target in mind even before coming into the game, and now I see that they're having some rating targets. I should be 1600, 1800. I'm not a big fan of this really. You should not have such targets. Your only goal should be to enjoy the game, and in the process you will improve a lot. Once you improve enough, you will achieve even more than what you wanted earlier, is what I feel.
But it's easier to say than to do it in the real life. Like for example, when I started chess, there were like obviously people go to schools and all. They have academics and all. So generally, people set goals. For example, to reach a specific rating, so that they can continue to play chess. So generally, people have these goals in order to just continue playing chess. And usually it's very hard to just play for the love of the game, right? So how do you do it convincingly, and what would your recommendation be to the viewers?
No, but again, it depends on when, right? When you start, if you come with a goal, it's already in contradiction with the enjoying of the game, because you need some period to enjoy the game and absorb. Uh, like again, I mean, when I was like a kid, I was working with Shashi Kiran, and his dad was a mentor for both of us. So we had a lot of time to just absorb a lot of chess. Like we didn't have computer, but with the little books we had, we used to go through the games and okay, see how brilliantly Morphy won or Alakin won and so on. See that was not with any goal like I have to become like Morphy or Alakin. It's just that you are imbibing some chess, and in the process you improve, and your goal comes later is what I feel from my own experience. I know it's difficult, but I think this rating, lowering the rating and giving a lot of I mean, if you have told me what is an 1800, even now I don't understand exactly what is an 1800, because when I started chess it was 2200.
Yeah.
So by lowering the rating, you are giving more. It's just a number. Like, and tomorrow they can say it's 200 will rating will start, and will you have a goal? So it's not so relevant for me. First, you come and understand whether you like the game. This is what I would say first, even if it is difficult. Whether you really enjoy it. If you enjoy it, you try some things and then see if you can combine your goals with actually enjoying the game. If not, it's going to be a big drudgery. It won't last for long. That is why many people are giving up. Not because it's chess is a bad game or something, because they have come with the wrong approach. I think.
So you're talking about the love of the game. So generally, does it mean that you don't have goals at all in your life, or like do you set goals in your life?
No, I mean, now I'm saying it doesn't mean that at various points I had different things. I wanted to become IM, I wanted to become GM and national champion and all that. At varied points of time, you think very differently, and that is how the learning process develops. So it's fine. I mean, having goals is completely fine, I think. But if it comes in the process of you just want to achieve your goal, but you're hating the process the way in which you do, then at some point you will stop it. You will stop doing it if there is another alternative. So that way, I think I'm what I'm telling is in hindsight, today's mindset, not when I was very young. So I had goals and all that. I had my um, good days, bad days, cheers, failures, everything. So I coped with it, but it's ideally you should not have any sort of like intermediary goals. That is what I mean. Even becoming a GM or 2400, 2600 is just an intermediary goal. If you play chess, you have to win, and at some point win all the games and become world champion. If that is your goal, it's fine. Any other goal is intermediary, and it's not so productive. Even though I had a lot of such goals, and that is the way I traveled, I think that sort of limits you. So in a way, telling having no goals and having the highest goal is one and the same thing.
Yeah. And before moving forward, I would like to ask an audience question from I am Hari Krishna. So he's asking like that he's sure that you have studied Dvoretsky's Endgame Manual a couple of times. He's asking how to study it without getting bored.
Okay. First of all, I have not studied it a couple of times. I've actually not finished that book, I wouldn't say, but I would have studied many portions many times and some portions not even once. So I understand. Yeah, many students also ask me this question. It's very, very boring. Uh, the thing is, I think it is too complex. It's not boring. If you are going into it with the mindset of we should completely understand this end game, then it gets above our head. Like we won't enjoy the process. I think we should just see the game, see the positions. Don't even take an effort to remember and all that. Just see it. If you forget it, accept that it is natural. I mean, it's very, very natural. Even the players who have greatest memory will keep forgetting it without practice. So you should just go through it. I mean, probably in India, only Sandeepan Chanda has finished it thrice or something. So, and he's a very, very good endgame player. So he'll definitely do you good, but you have to create the interest in the sense that if it's boring, step back, do something else in chess, and then come back at some time. But don't completely ignore it because it's still very, very valid. I mean, Kramnik, all these guys are saying it's a great book. It has to be because you have a lot of positions which it's not about remembering. That is what I mean. If you try to remember, it becomes a strain. If you just try to look at the marvel of the position, so many ideas are hidden in some simple positions, seemingly simple positions, then you see the wonder of it and you can go through it. And just like an amateur, you have to read. I think you should not be too professional about finishing the book.
Yeah, and you yourself said like end games are little bit boring. So generally, you recommended everyone to study end games at first. So generally, people would prefer studying sacrifices or mating attacks to end games. So don't you think people would get bored if they start with end games?
Uh, No, actually, players are very, very different in their approaches. See, I mean, I cannot talk only for myself or like some people like the sacrificial things that appeals to them in chess. To begin with, everybody is attracted by sacrifices only when you are talking about beginners level. But after some point, you understand that chess is not only this. There are so many nuances. What is positional play? What is endgame and all. The more you develop as a player, the more you appreciate the beauty behind it. So after that, what you considered boring at one point actually becomes very interesting. And what you considered very interesting to begin with now seems like very normal. So that is how one grows as a player. So I wouldn't put any hard and fast rule in saying you have to do this. If somebody says it's boring, I would say, okay, no problem. Leave it. But come back to it, reduce the complexity a little bit if you are not in a mood to study endgame books, which is fine, I understand. One way that, again, which Shashikaran's father taught us and did, when he did this, it was uh, very innovative. I don't think, maybe it was followed in Russia and so on, but it was innovative for us. The system he approached was he collected all endgame positions, not only positions, but almost it's a practical endgame. I'm not talking about a theoretical endgame. So from whatever books he had, let's say Rubinstein, Botvinnik, Capablanca, who were all considered good in endgames, and whatever the books were available, he actually printed the diagram and gave the moves and some explanations on why such and such a thing was played based on the comments. So we were studying games which were endgames, but it's almost the whole game if you see. It's not like I'm studying theoretical portions and trying to remember. I'm trying to imbibe some ideas. And like this, we had some books which were handwritten and stuff, and that was a lot of effort on his part. But I think we improved a lot. And if you see Shashikiran's games, you will also know that how strong an endgame player he was even from a long time ago. And this was not by no means boring for us. It was enjoyable. So you can do some innovative methods, mix and match some things if you get bored, but don't completely ignore this aspect totally, is what I would say.
Yeah, and there is one more. Yeah, before going to that question, yeah, I interviewed Grandmaster Sasikiran, and he also mentioned about this book which was made by his father about Endgames, and he was
Oh,
also,
okay.
yeah, he was also talking
Okay.
about it. So, and there is one question like, for an 1800 player, what books do you recommend to improve dynamic play?
Okay, again, see, this classifying somebody as 1800 or 1600 or 2200 doesn't make sense to me, because if, in a sense, what is their strong point and weak point is what I would observe as a coach. So somebody as an 1800, I've seen extremely dynamic players already, and 2200 who is like very weak in dynamics but much stronger in other aspects, that's pulling his rating forward. So one can't say that 1800 should have this level, 2200 should have this level. If you are not so good in dynamic play, okay, I think the best way is nowadays, especially with you're having some computers and so much information, is to study the games of dynamic players. That would be the best. So based on your level, if you feel Tal is too complex, then okay, you have to cut it a bit down. But dynamic players, you can select and study some of their games or their best games book or annotated games collection from the database, and study them. Books would be based on different levels, because the person at that level or his coach has to decide whether this book would be too complex for him. Like Gelfand has written a book, Dynamic
Yeah.
Decision Making, but it may be of a very high level for some players, not only about 1800. I mean, it may be even very high level for 2400 if he is not so much developed in dynamic play. So I wouldn't go by rating, but you can take the books of like very strong players on what they are doing, and like, okay, Agad has written a few books on attacking manual and all that. So there are quite a few good books. Or I would say best games of Tal, Alekhine, Stein, such players, Bronstein, you automatically understand what is dynamic play even without having to explain the techniques behind it. I think such books would be the best. You tend to enjoy it, and you pick up the knowledge without really understanding what went through. That knowledge will stand with you for a long time, is what I feel, rather than a targeted improvement.
And okay, coming to, you have already in this interview you have talked that you don't focus on rating that much, and also like I was researching for this interview, and I am Nitin helped me a little bit, and he told me that you don't take rating as a number as well. So like you completely not focus on it. So generally, like, why do you not focus on rating? And generally, rating is the one like people used to compare it with others, or to compare the understanding of the game or something. So generally, why do you not focus on the rating?
Yeah, no, that is just my view, because, like I said even earlier, rating has no. I mean, rating shows how good you are as a sportsman, maybe, and there could be various factors that is deciding victory and defeat, right? It's not like I cannot compare my chess strength based on rating. It is a decent indicator. I'm not saying like it's nothing. You still, if you are like professionally playing the sport, you need some rating. You have some goals, and I mean, there is always some qualification based on rating, right? So till that way, it's good, but it doesn't actually show how much knowledge you have in chess, or or that if you're in particular rating, you are weak in this aspect. These things cannot be said, because in various ratings, I've seen various kind of players who are probably not getting to the top because of other problems, not because of a particular chess related. The issue can even be psychological and not chess related. So I think by focusing too much on rating, I see the negative aspects, in the sense many times, like there is a way to think like, okay, draw is okay today, I'm gaining 5 points, 3 points, and so on. And this is a very negative mindset in chess, and this is happening only because of rating. Like, for example, if you see, I think ratings were introduced around 1969. If before that, top players, even if Bobby Fischer comes to play, if he loses the, I mean, it would still make it to the papers or something, but he could win the next 11 games and win the tournament, right? I mean, that anybody could do. If Carlsen loses the first round, is the same thing. But now the focus is so much. If Carlsen loses to some 2400, let's say, and he will lose some 9 rating points in the first game. I mean, this is just hypothetical. I'm not saying he's thinking of that. And if he's trying to think about rating, it will be nightmare for him, no? Like, anyway, he's number one. That is different. But if he has this 2900 target or something, it would be a nightmare. And this should not be so. So I feel that is why rating should not be in the mind of a player. It may be good for sporting point of view, selection and all that. But from a player's mindset, it should not be in the mind. Having said that, I'm not claiming that I have completely eradicated it from my mind or anything. But I'm talking about an ideal scenario when actually rating is not important. Every game you are playing to give your best and trying to outwit your opponent, right? Even opponent can be the world champion, but you should actually try to outwit the world champion, not just to try and draw or try to put a fight or something. So these are the things that come by rating. If there is no rating, nobody would actually care.
Yeah, right.
Because you have to win the tournament or come in top 10 or whatever the price list is, right? That is what a professional player wants. Now he has these auxiliary goals like, I want to improve 10 points, 20 points, I want to qualify for this and so on. So that is, I feel it's limiting a player's potential a lot. So that is why I'm like against this sort of rating thing. Though, I mean, it's just my view as again, comes in hindsight. I did not follow this all along.
Yeah. And so let's say people, like, I'll take me as an example. Let's say I want to not focus on the rating and I just want to focus on the quality. Like, how should I, eradicate this focusing on rating thing from my mind?
Yeah, again, it's about the same thing about, we talked about goals, right? So rating is an intermediary goal. So if you are a young GM, what you want to do is like, you have to aim to reach the very top. Either you are completely playing for the love of the game and art, or you are playing to become world champion. There is no in-between way. Only these two things would actually take you there. If you are aiming to reach 2600 or whatever that is, I mean, 2600, I'm just saying as an example, any intermediary goal, that is actually limiting your game, is what I feel. So you should just make a conscious decision of either you will completely have no goals or you will have only the highest goal. So if you want to become world champion at some point, you are not going to focus on the gaining a 50-point rating within this. It will happen automatically. I'm not saying, of course, to become world champion, you have to increase the 200, 300 points, whatever the barrier is, right? So, but that should happen on its own accord. You should not be aiming for it. And if you are feeling you are aiming for it, you should divert yourself by having like game kind of goals, right? You're playing, you're trying to win. You're analyzing the game, you're finding some mistakes, you're improving that. If the focus is only centered around that, you will not have time to think about this. So the next tournament you go, you want to actually win the tournament. It's immaterial if you're gaining 10 points or losing 10 points. Your aim as a professional player is to go and win the tournament. And you do, I mean, rating is always a secondary type of goal, I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I think we should tell this to our, in mindset, if we get it, you can eradicate it.
So generally, like, since you're not putting too much focus on your rating, let's say you're making a draw against a 1600, just because he played perfect game, would you be okay with that, or would you be like, I drew with the 1600?
Because of this rating system, there is a disappointment. But I'll tell you from my own experience. Earlier, when rating started with 2200, And no, by the time I got ratings were starting from 2000. First it was 2200, it started from 2000. So let's say that time I was already an IM. Let's say I was 2400 plus something, and it so happened that I have drawn the first round or second round against an unrated player.
Yeah.
Okay, but it was not so painful because you don't lose rating. Right now, same thing as a 2400. If you draw with a 1600 or lose to a 1600, now it's so much more painful because your 9 rating points is gone. So that's an external focus. I myself was not so upset at that time. I mean, of course, I would analyze the game and what mistakes I made and so on. That would continue even now. But now this rating is like almost you get a pain in the heart. Like, oh, one game I lost 9 points. So that sort of thing. It is painful, but it's the whole society has created this. So I think I would like to remove myself away from this, and should not matter is 1600 or whatever, right? It's, if he played a good game, he won or drew against you, so what? You should just move on. And I see that many players there who have very good fighting attitude generally even win tournaments after such a bad start and so on. So if it plays on the mind, we have to work on it and at least remove the importance of this. It has no bearings on whether you played like I mean, you could have played a bad game, but it could so happen that he played a good game. So you should just accept it and move on. Easy to say, but that's what you should do. Yeah.
So generally, how do you deal with failures? Failures are like losing a game, or having continuous failures. So generally, how do you deal with them?
The best way I feel is like not to think too much about it and instead to put the effort on the process. Like, okay, you had a failure. You can draw some basic conclusions on maybe this was the reason why I failed. It can be right or it can be even wrong because you learn from experience. You can even diagnose the wrong reason and then come back and still work another way. But just to get bogged down with the thought that I have lost this game, or I have had a nightmarish game, or I had a nightmarish event or a couple of events, and just focus on the next game. Actually, focus should be on, in chess, ideally the focus should always be on the next move. It's like in Zen, they concentrate on the breath. Next breath you watch. So like that, you watch the next move. That if you can get to that mindset, then these things shouldn't bother you. So whatever has happened, let's say I've lost my last 10 games, but my next game is what I should see. I should forget all that. It's very difficult to by force forget all that. Yeah, forgetting is a difficult thing. So what you should do instead is actually focus on the current game. So if it's tomorrow's game, maybe okay, you prepare for the game, or you work on some things for the game, or you just see some whatever, right? That is, so many methods are there. Some people work on opening, some people work on just games, or some people see their opponents' games and so on. So keep yourself occupied. Going to the game, you focus on every single move, because nowadays anyway there is less time. So there isn't so much time to wander about in thoughts and so on. So keep focusing on every single move. And if you are completely immersed into the game of chess, all these thoughts about failures, negativity, or even positivity, all these are just noises during the game. You should not be actually. I've been even distracted by positivity during a game. Like I'm suddenly I'll have a thought. I'm playing a great tournament. Nothing can go wrong. So I'll surely win this game. Especially thinking my opponent is having a bad tournament and so on. But things have completely turned, and I have cursed myself on why I thought like that. Instead, I should have just focused. So it's not only about negativity. Both negativity and positivity have no place during the game. So during the game, you concentrate on the game. And in between a tournament, if such thoughts come, okay, acknowledge that these thoughts are coming, but instead try to do some activity by which you can replace it. You cannot immediately forget it. Yeah, that's not human to completely forget it or anything. Some people do some physical sports to get away these negative emotions, or some people actually focus on chess. Like they are analyzing a lot of chess. That itself is distracting them from past thoughts and so on.
So generally, the distracts from these thoughts or something, do you do some meditation, or do you do any other kind of practice in order to keep your mind still?
I have tried meditation and all this at various points. It has helped. I'm not saying it's not, but I've not been regular. I mean, basically, I'm a bit lazy, so I've not stuck to any one particular routine. But I also have a feeling that it's not entirely necessary. I mean, if you do it, it is good. No harm in trying out something that works, right? But I have also seen people who do no such thing but have a great mind. So it's not a thing that is required. It helps if you can. I mean, if you like it and if it works for you, by all means, you should do it. But it's not like it should not be made out into a thing that you should do meditation or this in order to improve at chess. I don't believe in that. I mean, you could have absolutely no clue about that and you could still do really well in chess. Like, I mean, because the game itself is a meditation. If you are completely into the flow mode in a game, there is no better meditation for a chess player than it. So instead of doing something as a support, you can turn the game itself into meditation, and that can help. So but if it has worked for some people, it has also worked for me at some point. And so I'm not denying the effects of it, but it should not be given overemphasis is what I feel. If it's there, it's good. You can, by all means, you have to experiment with it. Some people like to do, if it helps, meditation helps. Like, for example, Jonathan Rosen was saying, like, he was doing TM, transcendental meditation. Before a game, if he does, he really feels it improves his level quite a bit. So he should be doing it, right? That's about it. But so many people don't do it. For Carlsen is not doing that. Playing football helps for him. So he should do that. For some players, even what could help, you can do it, of course. So it's about getting your mindset in a relaxed yet flexible mindset to go in for a full fight. Whatever helps you there, you should be doing that.
Yeah, and you talked about Zen mind and all. So generally, do you believe in any philosophy or something? There's so many out there like Stoicism, Taoism, or even religions. Like there is Hinduism philosophy, or there are separate philosophies. So do you follow any philosophy or something?
I've actually dabbled at almost everything. I've read everything. I can't say I've followed one particular thing that's about also similar to my chess. So I keep reading everything. That you can pick up some good things from everything, but ultimately, what I feel now is everything has to come from within. Actually, that is what these philosophies also say. I mean, first I read that as just as a statement, like okay, Zen, it will say it has to come from within.
Yeah.
In Hinduism, also it says, okay, God is within you, so you have to use the power, or you can use the power if you want, right? So such things, it's one thing to read about it. It's quite another thing to actually put it into practice. So it has to come from within, and it has to manifest itself as you are, as in a, it has to manifest in whole life. It cannot be only limited to chess. That is what I felt. Like if I'm trying it as a technique, it is always in the short run. Like at some point it will stop. Like if I say I'm doing some technique and it is working, it'll work for 6 months maybe until the good run goes on. Ultimately, there will be a bad run. You cannot stop it. And then you will start to question, oh, what happened? Maybe this technique is not working. That is not true. Actually, what is probably true is it should not be as an external source. See, if it's a complete manifestation of your personality, then everything will work. Then you don't even need these techniques. So that is what I feel now. I mean, this is what there is a unifying factor in all these religions and philosophies and so many things. They have expressed it in different words, in different applicable to different cultures and different times. But the truth is, you have to manifest your actually all the knowledge, and like okay, Vivekananda said, education is a manifestation of perfection already in man. So I think that's a very profound statement. I mean, it is there for everybody. It's not about one person is being greater than the other. It's coming from within. How much you let it manifest. That's going to be the key.
Yeah. Right.
So if you can manifest, let your inner self manifest and deal with all these problems. Solutions will also be provided by your inner self. So if you can give the time, this will not happen in like a quick time. It can happen in quick time for some people, but it's not like, I'm not saying, again, this cannot be like Zen means there is no targets. It's a purposeless purpose. So you just keep going. When it happens, but the journey is really nice. So that is what you should try to enjoy.
And when you are talking about manifestation, suddenly law of attraction thing came to my mind. So generally, there is this. There's so many books on law of attraction, like Think and Grow Rich, and there is Power of Subconscious Mind, or there are many other books. So, did you ever try law of attraction practice or something?
Yeah, I mean, I've read all these books, so I did, but I've, like I said earlier, I've never persisted with anything. So maybe, so I cannot really give a thing that it has worked or not. Like, even when sometimes some things have worked, I might have wrongly attributed the reason because of this it has worked.
Yeah.
Or when things have not worked, again, I would have given a wrong reason that this is not a good technique, so it's not working. Because I might not have even tried the full way in which it should have been. But this is all similar. Actually, all this is similar. Like, see, law of attraction or subconscious mind is like, they are considering the thought is actually a huge force, and you can see what is within is also without. Like, outside is also the same thing. So that is what most of the religions also tell you. So you can absorb things from the universe. That is what they
Yeah.
mean also. And but for that you need a good inner self, right? So it's again boiling down to the same thing. I have not, when I tried to apply it as a technique, it has not, I have not utilized the full effect of it, or I wouldn't say that it has always worked or not worked. But maybe I've never been too deep into one particular thing, and that can be my fault also. But in essence, it's just this. It's the same thing like what I was discussing earlier. It's about your feeling. You're letting your inner guide drive you to the way you want.
Yeah. And like many people love chess and they would like to work on chess, but they don't have the self discipline or motivation to work on chess daily. So generally, how can one develop this self discipline to do the work every single day?
Uh, I think they have to ask a deeper question whether what they really love in chess, or do they really love chess. Again, it comes back to the same question. If you really love chess, like for example, we can discuss the case of Bobby Fischer. Like, everybody will agree is the most enigmatic, one of the most, like, if you can consider some chess genius, almost in all generations they will quote Bobby Fischer, right?
Yeah.
Like, he was one of the greatest ever players, very less understood by others, completely came on his own, no coaching, nothing of the sort, and achieved a lot. And also his games, like his games are speaking for itself even today. It's not like some people might like his personality or dislike his personality, is a different thing, but people generally love his games. His games showed such great clarity and power. And let's see what he did. I mean, from his life, what we can learn. So basically, as I understood, I've read a lot about his, how he worked and so on and so on. He never did any targeted training. Like, it's not like today where I have a problem in dynamic chess, I go to Dvoretsky and learn, or I have a problem in positional chess, I go to, let's say, somebody, Seravan, and learn or something. Nothing of the sort. Nothing existed then. Okay, he was already a young achiever, but the work he did on chess was actually studying games. So he used to collect all Russian magazine, whatever magazine he used to get. Any games, any game, he will just go back and study. He just play through the games at his home, analyze on his own. Sometimes even unknown languages, he would read the games. Like, there is a story at some point, I think this was Mardel Plata 1960 or something. He comes into the room of Spassky and Bronstein. They were all friends. Fischer, Spassky, Bronstein. Fischer is very young, 15, 16 years old. So he comes to their room. He sees a lot of Russian magazines lying around the room. So he's asking them if, can I borrow this for some time? They're like, okay, friends. And they said, okay, yeah, you can borrow.
Yeah.
But they are asking, what will you understand in Russian? Then Fischer is saying, like, only the games are important to me. I have the good enough capability to analyze. I don't need to understand your other things. I can understand the moves, and that's fine. So he borrowed the book and gave it back to them before the tournament ended. So basically, he was just absorbing games, and this is what he was doing right until 1972. In fact, even after 1972, like, there have been cases where people, even in 90s or 80s, they have spotted Fischer on New York subway with a pocket chess set and an informator. See, the guy is not playing chess for the 20 years or something.
Yeah.
He's still completely focused on chess. Like, if you should ideally have that kind of love, it's, I don't, discipline is not a right word probably. You should have that kind of love for the game. Then nobody needs to direct you. So basically, you are you can try various methods. I'm just quoting Fischer as an example that he was studying a lot of games. He would take informator, see all the games. Whatever games he got, he used to see. So like that, many things are available now. If they are not, if you're saying somebody doesn't have a discipline to do the work, they are not doing it because they're considering it as a work or something. They are doing it like in office or something. If they are really loving it, they wouldn't say that, right?
Yeah.
They could be doing something on chess. If they're really loving chess, they would find an activity that interests them in chess and keep doing it. It can be even just playing Blitz all day. But I mean, that's not a method that I'm recommending or something, but that means they're still into chess. Can you have such inner motivation? Because any outer motivation will fail after some time.
Yeah, right. But the thing is, like, people have distractions and they have other interests as well. Let's say, for example, myself, I like watching movies and all. And let's say if a movie like Bahubali or Avengers comes, so it's like a must watch for me. So generally,
Yeah.
like for me, I'm just saying two movies. So generally, there are so many things other like there's social media and so on. So generally, people who love chess so much still have this kind of distractions they have to deal with. So generally, how to deal with these distractions and all, and how to focus on
Uh,
chess.
no, but the question is, why are you thinking this is a distraction? See, this is good only. I mean, if you are seeing Bahubali for 20 hours and not sleeping, then it's a problem maybe. But if you're seeing it for a few hours, actually it is good, because it's also that it's not about only how much chess you will see will manifest in your game. It's about how you are as a personality. So basically at the mind level, you have to be happy. So happy personality will manifest in chess. Is an art. So it has to be an expression of, it's actually an inner expression only. So if doing such things makes you happy, I would in fact recommend doing this. Don't sit with chess like as a exercise that I have to do chess. Don't feel sorry that I have not studied chess today, so I missed out something in my profession. One should not have such a look. Like again we can see Carlsen's example. I think he's working much lesser than many other players. To be fair, right? I mean, he's having a great talent, or he might have worked earlier and all is a different thing. But he's, even by just seeing, he's doing a lot of outdoor things, right? He's into a lot of sports. In between, he was in some modeling. He's starting a club and all that. So he's also wasting time and getting distracted, right? But that is not affecting his game because he's happy. I mean, I don't know the reason, but that what I'm saying is you shouldn't feel bad about it. I mean, there should be a balance. It's not like, okay, I'm completely doing it only becomes a distraction when you are overly doing that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you are managing within your limit, and that is healthy only, because completely doing one thing is not good for your overall development in your brain or personality and so on. So varying the different things is actually, it will help in your chess too. So you need to only strike the balance and time, not entirely cut the distraction or so on.
Yeah. Before moving forward, I'd like to read some comments. First of all, Grandmaster Shyam Sundar is saying that he's asking why you didn't put up the quote that you usually put. He's saying
What? Why
quote.
you didn't?
He's saying quote podliya ninga. And
That
okay.
That's an old picture. I'm just fooling everybody with my old picture. I'm no longer back.
Yeah. And N.Niranjan is asking, what are you reading right now, chess and non-chess?
uh, okay. Recently, I'm not reading any chess, so mostly it's non-chess, and I'm reading a lot of Tamil literature books. I'm not even reading English books, so it's something entirely different. And I got interest in last few years, so
Yeah.
I'm up from my coaching. I'm in reading only Tamil books, so I don't think like it will be helpful for me to share that here.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, you were talking about these addictions. So, for example, recently a common addiction people are having is the game Among Us, which chess players are playing with their friends. Like, for example, myself, Karthikeyan, Mulli, Arvind, and like there are several others. We are playing this game every day for at least 2 hours. Rest I will not reveal. So, generally, how to get rid of these addictions and all.
No, no, but do you think it is harming you? Only then you have to get rid of it. If
No,
you're
for
playing 2 hours,
example,
you're happy.
I'm playing 2 hours, but there are people who are playing like 7 hours, 6 hours, and all. So generally, I'm just giving as an example. So generally, how to break these addictions which you want to break.
Okay, I mean, I don't know the game which you are talking about, but I'm thinking it's a computer game, right? You sit down and play.
Yeah,
So generally, what I feel is chess players have a tendency to always sit in a room and do everything in a virtual space, right? You're with the computer, and as now I'm feeling that's not good for the mind and developing you as a player as well. So if it's not good for your mind and personality, it's definitely not helping your chess. So the best way to avoid this is go out in the sun. Just get out of the room and have some sun. So that's the best way to avoid this. And I mean, I have nothing against that game. I don't even know the game you're telling about. But what I'm saying is, if people are doing it for 7 hours, it's definitely impacting their health, if not anything else. Like your eyesight, your posture, and everything suffers, right? If you're anyway, you are preparing chess in computer, that will take a few hours. If you're playing a game also in computer, like you're sitting 10, 12 hours uh, of a day in front of a computer, it's like you're an IT professional and it will lead to all health sort of problems. So purely by thinking on that angle and try to have some uh, outdoor activity. Even okay, lockdown you cannot really go outdoor, but it maybe even it's more sensible to go to your terrace and have a breath of fresh air than just playing this game non-stop. I mean, you have fun, you have to stop at that point. You can have some time limit, like 1 hour, 2 hours, and so on. After that, you need to get out.
yeah. Okay, I was just saying it as an example. Other people have like addictions of using WhatsApp or Instagram for so much time. So that is what I wanted to know, like how to break this bad habits or addictions.
Yeah, okay. I mean, see, everything has its good and bad sides, right? So communication has developed. So I wouldn't entirely say WhatsApp is bad or anything. I'm not branding things as good or bad. But the best way is to immerse yourself into some activity that you like. And by activity, I mean physical activity, not just sitting down and doing something. So it can be whatever you like. I mean, could be gardening, or
Yeah,
it could be something completely different, like listening to music or something, even if it's not a physical activity, or learning something new. Maybe learning a new language, maybe reading some books, or trying to. Ideally, I would like it to be a physical activity, but if there is no chance, then at least these kind of things.
yeah.
So that once you start it, you will not have time for this again because you like that, and you will feel your health has also improved. So you will not come back to this.
Yeah, so coming to like physical fitness, what do you do for physical fitness now, and what did you used to do when you were like 10-year-old or when you were playing chess generally, when you were younger?
Okay, I mean, I cannot call myself very physically fit or so on, but my views about physical fitness have changed greatly. Okay, as a 10-year-old, maybe there was some activity like going for walks, nothing. I was not doing anything strenuous, sometimes jogging, something very simple only. It's not like, but at the time I thought, okay, I mean, mostly I wouldn't like it, but my parents or somebody would say, you have to do it, otherwise you will not play well, and so on. So I was doing it without full heart into it. I see that like a lot of players, like for example, Shashikaran, he used to play badminton, and like he also loves the game. So
Yeah,
that gives the extra motivation to do the physical fitness thing. It's not like you do something, if you have to go for a run or a swim and come back, finish that half an hour thing for improving your physique, then that is always a drudgery. It's like work. But instead you play badminton and come, if you really like badminton, then that gives two in one. Your mind is also free, you get physical fitness also. So in my younger age, it was that I like to go for walks anywhere, like especially when going abroad, some tournaments, places is also nice. So wherever I can walk, I'll walk. So that was my slight way of improving physical fitness. But more than that, I actually liked it. So I was doing it enduringly. Like whenever I get chance, it's not like because of the tournament or I have to do well in chess or something. I generally liked walking, so I used to do it. So right now, what I feel is it has to be an integral part of life. It should not be an external exercise or something that is coming into your routine. Like every day, 5 to 6, I will jog. Is still, uh, in a way, it's. I look at it much lower than every day I will work in whatever way I can. I've been, your physical body is like, it's a God-given gift. Actually, it is capable of a lot of things. If you are actually working in the sense, for a better word, I'm saying working, anything, like it can be cooking, it can be washing your clothes, it can be going out where, like, instead of taking a taxi, I might actually walk like 5-6 kilometers. By the way, Sandeep Panchanda is like a great walker. He walks 10-12 kilometers wherever he can. So I got impressed by what he was doing, and like I feel it is good. Like, if there is a chance, I'll just walk. I'll not take any, um, even during tournaments or something. So in a way, I'm seeing new people. I'm observing a lot of nature. I'm also utilizing my, uh, the time for physical fitness, if you can call it, and it's part of my, it's just the way of my life. It's not like I'm doing it as an exercise. So right now I feel I don't want to exercise at all. I just want, um, if you, I don't know how to say it instead of exercise, that physiology as part of a daily life.
Yeah.
In whatever way we can. It depends on in which situation we are in, right? Like, in some situations you walk, in some situations you do some other physical chore that you maybe you help around the people and so on. Even that, I think that is more than sufficient, in many ways even better than targeted exercise, because mind becomes free.
Yeah, and like some people, like they love chess so much that like all day they are just practicing and they're lazy to do some physical work, go outside or something. So what would your recommendation be to those players?
Yeah, I also been in that situation, so I know I'll like but after some point, I don't think any sort of recommendation will work. It has to come from within. After some point, they'll be bored of just sitting inside the room. So they will start to develop the activity. Probably one advice I can say is to branch out your interests. It should not be limited to chess. Like, chess is fascinating. Like, almost whole of my life has been centered around chess. But, and I've been completely been intrigued by it, and still I am intrigued by it, but I can still say that it's just a game. So it's not the entire life. So you have to broaden your perspectives.
Yeah,
Like,
true.
you have to learn, at least try to learn in the sense not to become a master or something, but try out different activities. Then you will have so many things to do that whenever you feel like you're only doing chess, you have other activities to do at your help. You don't have to invent it.
Yeah, and before moving forward, let me just update you with some of the comments. Okay, Niranjan, Navalban Niranjan is saying you're also a great human being, and Grandmaster Shyam Sundar is saying Kiddu Anna is someone who does not read books, rather he creates new stuff.
I don't know if he's thanks Deljan, and Shyam. I don't know if he's like mocking me or really telling. So I don't know.
Yeah, even I am not sure, but yeah. And
Anyway,
coming,
yeah.
yeah, and coming to like eating, right? Like many chess players have this habit of eating whatever is nearby a restaurant or something. They eat fast food and they go with it. So generally, in your life, did you follow any like strict diet or something, or did you follow like did you used to eat healthy food only or something? There was some restrictions that you followed.
Uh, no, I didn't follow a strict diet. Okay, but being vegetarian, my diet was always limited, especially abroad. In general, I was never a big fan of fast food. It had nothing to do with chess, even otherwise. So I didn't enjoy that so much. So that way, I was even naturally driven towards what you call as healthy food. But healthy food, and you are getting a lot of energy by that, and improving the game and all. I don't believe in it anymore. Like, earlier, I used to think, okay, you carry nuts or something during the game, you have
Yeah.
it, or you have chocolate. Those things I used to think until even like 5 years ago and so on. Then when I started moving closely with Vishnu, I understood this is all absolute nonsense. Like, he he will sometimes not eat. lunch, breakfast, dinner, and he'll still play a great game. He'll have full energy. He'll have much more energy than me, who would have consumed like 3 times food and so on. So it's about every individual, how you are, how you are sensitive about your body. It should not be just by reading about it. I mean, you should actually observe your hunger. If you're hungry, you should eat well. That is enough. And healthy food, yeah. I mean, people know what is healthy food. Generally, junk is to be avoided. Junk food, if you can. But once in a while, if you're having, you don't have anything else, and you're young, it's still fine. Your body will take care of it. So it's not like you should be too strict about it. It should not become a habit. Like I'll always eat junk should not be a habit. Uh, some a reasonable balance in healthy food, and maybe even sometimes to eat junk food is fine. But I feel more important is to be sensitive to what your body is trying to tell you. If you are feeling hungry, you should eat. You should not just eat because you need energy for the game. That's a wrong way that we are taught. We'll be like, okay, I need energy for the game, so I should have periodically some coffee, tea, or something, nuts or some fruit. Maybe I take a banana. I've tried all this. Sometimes I'll feel good about it. Sometimes even it will not work and so on. But later I understood energy has nothing to do with this. It is about how sensitive you are to your body. Like in Isle of Man 2018, Vishnu Prasanna, I remember, I don't think he had eaten dinner the previous night. Morning he slept, he did not wake up for breakfast. He came to the game and he did a Nigel shot in a very, very nice game. He didn't have lunch also. After the game only he had dinner. So it has nothing to do with it. It was a good game. He beat a very strong player.
Yeah.
So it's not like he was feeling tired, he had a headache or stomach ache because of not eating and so on. But it is individual. I am not again suggesting that everybody should not eat. I'm just saying it is individual. You have to observe your body. You have to respect it. If it feels hungry, it will ask, you have to eat. If it says, I don't want food, you should respect that also. Just because you are having a tournament and it is important, you should not thrust food upon it.
Yeah. And there is this most of the chess players have this ability to overeat or something. For example, myself also, like I used to eat whatever there was, and I almost I was overweight for at least 3 4 years. So generally, what would your advice be to that? Like for example, myself, I if there is KFC, I would go eat in KFC. Like whatever I find, I eat because I like food. But generally, what would your recommendation be to those players during a tournament at least?
Okay, I mean, see, people what they consider as healthy food varies also, right? It's not like
Yeah.
I might consider one as healthy, you might consider another food as healthy. So that I leave it to you up to your judgment. Generally, this KFC, McDonald's, these kind of joints are considered to be unhealthy because of the way they are processing food and so on. That way, I mean, I'm not too sure about this, but this is what they say. So in general, if you can go to a restaurant instead of KFC or McDonald's, it will be better. Although there is also a consideration that sometimes we are going to such places, there is nothing else, only KFC will be there. Then you have to eat. It's not like you can go without eating. So that way it's fine. But if you have a view that restaurant food is better than KFC, then you should change. If you are feeling it's okay, then that judgment is up to you. But about overeating, I think that's an important point. Generally, overeating happens because we are not aware of our surroundings. Like we just want to get away with food and do the next work, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there is a very common habit. At home, you watch TV and eat. At tournaments, you have your laptop on and eat. Either you're analyzing or you're watching movie or you're watching some comedy scenes or you're playing something and eating. This is very bad because you're not paying attention to food. If you are eating, you should only eat. You should concentrate on the next morsel of food that you're eating. If you are so much aware, you can never overeat because your stomach will tell you when to stop. Just that you're not paying attention.
Yeah. True. Okay, before, yeah, there is one question. Vishnu Anna, like someone said that Vishnu Anna told that ignorance is bliss. Is it true? Is asking.
Yeah, predominantly yes, right? Like if you don't know so many things, you're not. Your mind is really free. So ignorance is definitely bliss. I agree to that.
Okay.
And knowing so many things complicates the thinking process.
Yeah, true. So, but you try to learn a lot of things, right? And you study a lot of things. So, if you believe that, why do you do that?
No, I'm just doing it for fun. It's not like with the aim of. I mean, I'm learning in the sense. Yeah, I mean, I have a habit of reading a lot of books, but of late it has come down. But generally, I'm maybe buying a lot of books, not even reading. I have a lot of books. I'll read a little bit here and there. That is for okay. You can say that is my. You are playing games. I'm doing this, so it's the same thing.
Okay.
Just for fun. I'm not claiming it has done me good or bad. Like I'm not even judging it from that perspective.
Yeah.
I like that I did it. So actually speaking, truly, if I believe my philosophy, I shouldn't be doing it. I agree with you. I shouldn't be even reading so much or something. It doesn't help. I mean, if you want to succeed in something, it has no connection. It is just like another time pass. That's all. You're reading something.
Yeah, and coming to one last topic before we go into the chess aspect, like about sleep, generally there's so many things. First of all, when we like generally when one grows up, like they it is usually told that you should wake up early in the morning and like wake up early and sleep early. So that is the thing, and like many chess players do the opposite. I think at least the people I know. So what do you think about the sleep cycles? Like when should one wake up or when should one sleep?
Yeah, no, this is a very good question. I have also, I mean, even though I may have a different view now, but it's not that I'm completely subscribing to my view. I have been subscribing to it all the while, right? It's a great thing to sleep early and wake up early. I mean, that is the best way to lead life. It's nothing to do with chess in general. See, the simplest aspect you can follow is our life cycle is actually in synchronicity with the sun.
Yeah,
When the sun rises, you should be, when the sun sets, slowly, because it's the sun's heat and your body heat, everything is linked. So if the heat is going, if the body's heat system is going down, then automatically sleep should come. If you are putting an effort to wake up in the night, like or sleep late in the night, wake up in the mean, what I mean is sleeping late in the night, you are actually tampering your body system a lot. You are actually supposed to be sleeping then, but you are awake and you're spoiling your health. So there are no two ways about it. You should always be in synchronicity with the sun wherever you are. Like for example, where we are, we should be ideally be awake by 6 o'clock or earlier, and go to bed by 8:39. Hardly happens in chess players, I know, but that is ideal. Not that I have followed also, but
yeah,
waking up till 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, I think this is a habit of chess players, right? That is
yeah,
very, very bad. It's extremely bad for health because it first of all upsets so many inner organs in your body that you don't even realize. When you are young, your body will still tackle it, right? Because you
yeah,
have extra energy, you will tackle it. But after some time, after you reach some age, then you realize that you have extremely undermined your health. Instead, you could have just followed this thing, sleeping early and getting up early, and you would have had so much energy for a longer period of time.
yeah,
So I completely believe that is right. Whatever chess players are doing is wrong. At least Indian chess players, if they are doing sleeping late, I cannot talk about other countries because their sun itself is like comes late and so on. So we cannot talk about Matt or
yeah.
Vladimir Kramnik. I'm not qualified to comment on that. But for Indian players, absolutely, you should sleep early and wake up early. I have, if given a chance to redo my life, I would change that aspect only.
Especially like in tournaments in Europe and all, like usually the round starts at 4 or maybe 3.
For
Yeah, and some tournaments like the Dubai Open, like they start at 5:30 or 6 o'clock even. So generally, it affects your sleep cycle. For some people who are just waking up at 6 and sleeping at 10, for them it would be some kind of a disturbance, right? So how should one deal with this and all different time changes?
yeah, yeah, no, these things are there, but see, the Dubai Open is still should be an exception in your daily life. It should not be the way. I cannot train for Dubai Open throughout my life, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but if you have a good body system, you can adjust with it quickly. Like a person waking up at 6 and let's say sleeping at 9 o'clock, something like that. He goes to Dubai and already there is a time difference, and you start at 5:30 in the evening and so on, and like already around your 12 o'clock in midnight you will be playing game, which will be very difficult for you. That's what you mean, right?
yeah,
So maybe just before the tournament you make a change, but after that come back to your own cycle. Your extra energy in the body will help to. Especially, it should not matter for young people. They can manage anything, even without sleep. They can play, but I think it's better to focus on health rather than focusing on some one particular tournament. And if you are focusing on health and having a good health, automatically your body will do the needful. Like
Yeah.
if you feel you're not adjusted, just go 1 or 2 days early and get adjusted to the time. It will adjust in no time. Like you can, you will wake up according to that time and place, and should not be a problem. I mean, I cannot say that I had a very good health and so on, but I usually adjusted pretty well with timing and sleep. Only US would be difficult. It's like
Yeah.
12 hours difference. Dubai or Europe shouldn't be that much of a problem.
Like coming to chess, there is an audience question like is asking like how much time would it take for a chess player to become a grandmaster? Let's say if he's an intent, he's saying the rating range of 1200 to 1400, but generally I'm asking like different people. Some people become grandmaster quickly, but and some people become quite late. So generally, what is your approach? Is asking like how long will it take to become a grandmaster? And does age matters?
No, I mean, again, you cannot say that you need such and such a time, right? Like Karpo was saying, some 9, 10 years is enough to become a grandmaster. I mean, full chess study and all that. So if you start at 7, you will become at 14, 15, something. I mean, but I don't really know all this or believe in it. It will it will be, obviously it will be different for different people. Some people will become early, some people will become late, but that doesn't matter. I mean, you should not even think that you should become a grandmaster within a stipulated time, because maybe you are even thinking the time wrong. Like you could even be quicker than what you estimated it to be. So any estimate would do injustice to this. I feel the whole approach that any answer that I give would be wrong. If I tell 9, people can do it in 7. And if I tell 15, or like from my own case, I started chess around 10 years and I became grandmaster when I was 27. So that means like, would I say that I'm telling 9 to other people and I've taken 17 years? So it's different, and individual things come into the fore. No, how much you
Yeah.
have worked, what is the mindset, whether your chess is your career, whether other things are there. So many things, and if you become a grandmaster late, it's not at all a bad thing. In fact, the old Russian school, Ratmir Holmov was, as he was quoted in some New Chess, there was a Sosonko's article after Holmov's death. He has said that nowadays they are giving grandmaster title at 15, 16.
Yeah.
He's saying that is ridiculous. At that, in their time, how they used to give was a committee has to appoint you as worthy of a grandmaster. It's not only norms.
Yeah.
So either you qualify for the USSR championship, something, they had some norms. So he's saying, according to him, he was old school, of course. It is you need a lot of challenges and failures you should face before becoming a grandmaster. In fact, he was saying you should not become a grandmaster by 13, 14 and all that. That is ridiculous. He's saying you need experience. So why they are awarding such titles, he was feeling. So in that way, that's a completely opposing view. But it has its points, right? So if you become a grandmaster late, so what? I mean, what happens by becoming a grandmaster or not becoming a grandmaster? Again, it comes to the goal, right? It's an intermediary goal. If you're playing chess, if you're very competitive about it, you want to become world champion. You just don't want to become a grandmaster and stop. If that is the case, then number of years, it's uh, it's not relevant, right? It's that is what I feel. Like ideally, if you're having a direction, what Carbo said may have been right. You need only 9 years or something, right, from you started chess. But that hardly happens to
Yeah.
any of us. We are more in trial and error. So I personally do not know actually, like what's the right time and so on.
Yeah. And coming to the chess aspect, finally, everyone knows your love for chess classics. And if there is one person who could write the encyclopedia of chess classic, it must be you, I guess. And I think everywhere in like wherever people are talking about you, they talk about your knowledge of chess classic. So first of all, how did the like first of all, which player did you study, and how did the interest grow in chess classics for you?
Okay, I mean it's been a bit of an exaggeration to say I am best in classics, and I have a lot of interest. I won't deny that. Best or not, I don't know. And about interest, it's even been from a very young age. Like like I was recounting earlier, we did not have computers, so I usually used to go to Sashikaran's house Friday night or Friday evening or something. My father used to drop me and take me back by Sunday because I had school Monday to Friday. After school, I would go there. Weekend, I'll spend and come back. So we had very few books. Whatever books he had, I also had some books like Alakin's best games, Capablanca's best games, or something. Whatever was there, that was our only source. So I used to, whenever there was free time, I used to browse around. Shashi's father used to show games, and I liked doing that. And later, when I started buying my own books and all, this interest grew and grew. So there's a lot of reading books of this sort, and generally I had a decent memory, so I used to remember also which game where it happened and so on. So that little bit helped. So and that way there has always been an interest in that, and also in between probably in early 2000s or mid 2000s, like when I was uh, chasing for my GM norms, I would say I was too much into computer sort of work, engines, this, that, and typical, like it was modern for that time. I cannot compare with modern generation. Or there was it was different, but I was doing the what was in vogue for that time, and it was too much seeming to me like a work rather than enjoying. So lot of analysis, engine analysis, forgetting them, complaining I have in my notes, I forgot it, and so on and so forth. And then I thought, okay, this is not why I'm playing chess for, and went back to reading these books and so on, whatever I had. I have actually read very, very little of the books I have. So my knowledge in classics, just comparing my own library, would be like 5% of what I have. So I have a lot of interest. But the thing is, okay, reasonable memory and all that. So that way, people are thinking I'm very good because I can quote some games. Or it could just be that people are paying completely no attention to that. So I'm paying a little attention to it. So I'm seeming like somebody who is very good in knowledge of classics and so on. It's just interest, I think. Nothing else. It has nothing to do with anything else. I like to read from books rather than computer always.
Yeah. And how important do you think studying classics are, and how it has helped you in your own chess career?
This is again individual. I think definitely cannot be a bad idea. It's a reasonably good idea if you can read classics, but again, it should not be like you have to read classics to become a strong player. No such hard and fast rule exists, because there are so many players among modern players who have not read classics, but they have become like real top in a different way, in a completely different way, right? But you cannot also deny that how Fischer was completely absorbed in classics, how Magnus Carlsen is, and I have also felt being greatly helped by my knowledge of my classics. That's what I feel. Uh, it helps you take a lot of decisions. You can compare and so on. But it's not a must. It's not a hard and fast rule for everybody. It's good. It has been good for me. It's good for a lot of people. If they naturally have an inclination towards it, they should do it. But if they're feeling it's boring and instead they would do something else, they have their right to do something else. But the greatest thing about classics for me is like you can observe things from a very time period. So you have a lot of uh, thing for improving your perspective, like how so many players dealt with their problems in different points of time. Like it can help in chess ways, it can help even in non-chess ways. Just reading stories about the players can give a lot of ideas on how they work, and you can develop a suitable idea that will work for you based on that. You need not copy it, but if something worked and you get an idea about it, you can modify it based on modern times, right? Like, so I feel, for me personally, it is more of a, it's just liking towards it. And I can, just because I like, probably I remember more also on that, about what games happened, what happened, and I can relate it to my own games and so on. But it's not a necessity for a strong player. I feel that's also not. I wouldn't put it that strongly also.
So generally, if one player is interested in studying these classical games, how should he properly study classical games? Like, for example, there are classical games in a book. So, if so, like if you recommend reading it via a book, so how should one read a chess book, chess classical book?
Depends on the level. Like if they are just starting chess, I would recommend to read the books only, because otherwise they don't have their own perspective, so they have to read books of commented great players, whatever they may be. Now there are so many books available, so you can read any book by a great player right from the very past. Right, I mean, you can go back to Morphy and come till modern times, no problem. You can read it and try to absorb whatever you can from it. For a slightly stronger player or a more experienced player who has already been into the game for a long time, he need not actually follow this approach. Now that you have all databases, you can collect your own games, so you don't even need books.
Yeah.
Again, coming back to that Fischer quote, you should be strong enough to analyze your own. You just need the games. So you see the games from your database. Of course, you shouldn't be using engines while analyzing it. That's the only thing. You use your brain to analyze, try to understand what they did, what they went right, what they went wrong. That itself will help for a player who is already experienced in chess. He doesn't even have to go back to books. For somebody who is beginning with, they need books, because if they directly go into the games, they will not understand anything. So once you're okay with the fundamentals, you know some things about the game, then you can now you simply, for a strong player, you need only the database. You don't even need the books. But you should spend time. You should not be in a rush to get over the game.
Yeah, and there are also various ways of studying a game, right? For example, I read this book, Sorcerer's Apprentice, I think, by David Bronstein, and he
Yeah.
recommended this method that first you should see the whole game, and then you should have a cup of coffee and take a 20-minute break, and then the second time you should try to focus a little bit more, and then just look at it fast, and at the third time you should like look at all the variations and try to analyze it properly. And there are many other methods as well. So which method do you think works, I mean, which is the ideal method to focus on?
I mean, if, I cannot say something to what Bronstein has said, right? Like, I feel that's perfect. You can follow what Bronstein has said. There is no better method than that. But again, since people are very individualistic, they can follow different things. One thing from what he's saying, what you said, that Bronstein said, is like, the more you view a game, the more ideas you will get about it. So extending this even further, I mean, let's say we are following Bronstein's advice, extending this even further, what I would say is you can again come back to the same game after some point. Like, let's say
Yeah.
you studied some game 6 months back. You studied Bronstein versus Imagine 6 months back. Now you are a stronger player. You have more experience. I mean, again, stronger, I don't go by rating or something. You have more experience about this. So now you see the same game. You will have more ideas. So that is how these players did. They kept actually reading a good classic is like reading a good literature and so on. You reread the same thing, you get new views about it. It's not, there is no fixed thing. You can never finish a game or complete all learning in a game by studying it once or twice or even 100 times. There will always be 101st time something new you will look into it. There will be new angles that you will learn. So branching method is perfect. I'm even suggesting extend that method to a larger period of time. Come back to the game, think about it, develop your own ideas, and have fun. Like, don't try to limit the game in a very small way on, like, okay, some variations and finished. And that's not the way, right? It's like, we know chess has been surviving for so many centuries because it's such a deep game. So humans can always learn from reviewing games. This is the best thing about classics.
And like while studying classics, for example, maybe I could understand like 10% of the game, and some people might not even understand that much. They don't know what is going on, especially for beginners or players who are just starting and stuff. So generally, like for those players who cannot understand what is going on in a game, how would you recommend them to study?
They have to come back to it again and again. I mean, actually, very few people would understand. I
Yeah.
mean, including myself in it, like, I don't think I understood like much. When I revisit the games which I have studied many times, right from the age of 10, and so many times I would have seen, suddenly if I see the game now, and I would see something completely new in it. I mean, I'm not saying I'm finding a novelty or something, but I'll see a new idea, a new way to look at the position and so on. So that way, it's a constant learning process. So you should come back to it and try to learn yourself. It will not be, there is no other way. Like, even in a book has a limitation. The author can say only a few words. He cannot write an unlimited book. Even the player who has played the game cannot share all his thoughts. Not because he's secretive, because most of it is subconscious and he cannot explain everything. So my recommendation would be to spend more time on it. If it is boring for some point, leave a break and come back to it. Don't completely ignore it. If you're feeling I cannot understand this game, okay, I'll put a stop to it, but maybe I'll come back to it in a few months or something. Not completely ignoring it and leaving it. If you have a real interest to learn about that game, and that interest itself will drive you towards understanding more about the secrets of the game.
Yeah, and okay, before moving forward, I would like to ask a couple of audience questions. So, first of all, Chaitanya is saying that your answers are very related to Advaita philosophy. So, do you believe in that? He's asking.
Like I said before, I've read almost everything. So what I believe in or don't believe in, I've of course read about it.
Yeah.
So it might form some part of my thought.
And I am Hari Krishna is asking, do you think working on laptop made our generation lazy? And he's answering the question himself. I do think so.
See, I don't know. Definitely, it has impacted the health. I mean, I am also including myself in it again. I've been like, it's not like it was definitely more fun pre-laptop days. As a player, as a person, I mean, if you can talk to those guys who had played tournaments, same like when you played national sub junior and
Yeah,
15 years ago when people played sub junior, it was completely different.
right.
So they had more fun definitely, and their health would be better. I feel crazy. I don't know, but okay, that is the price people are paying for quick and improvement, right? Now people are becoming GMs at 12, 13, 14. That was impossible to imagine in that generation. So different things.
And there's a question on weakness. Uh, is it okay to have weakness or we need to work on it? Is the question.
Is it okay? Okay, there are multiple views about it. To iron out your weakness is one idea. Work on weakness, but there is also a completely another approach saying you can shield your weakness and keep working on your strengths.
Yeah,
And people have succeeded like that also. But what I would say is like not to have any glaring weakness. At least improve it a little bit. Like you can have strengths, but you should not have one glaring weakness. Otherwise, people will target there. So improve it to some average level, and then focus on your strengths. Would be a very logical answer, I think. But there could be exceptions. I mean, people can have big weakness, but they will never get into their weakness in their games. They
yeah,
are only focusing on, but that way their game becomes limited. So ideally, you should eliminate all your weakness and come to a position where you can do many things well. It can take time, but that would be the ideal scenario for a chess player.
yeah, true. And like coming to this, I am Nitin told me that when he attended your 5 day camp, and he said that you never used engine, and you also have this opinion that engines are distracting our chess or something. So generally, why you don't use engine, and would you recommend it to players to not use engine at all?
Uh, what I would say is why I am not using it is because yeah, I felt it had a bad impact on my game, so I stopped. It need not for everybody. So again, there should not be a one single approach, right? So many people are
Yeah,
using engines and still improving. But my greatest, if you say, negative point about using engines is it is stopping me from thinking properly. If it is not stopping you from thinking properly, then you can use. But that you have to decide yourself. Like if you are something external and not yourself, even if it is the truth, even if what engine is saying is the actual truth, what I am thinking is wrong, maybe, right? I'm not claiming that I'm better than the engine or something. But if I'm always in a kind of fear that my move is wrong, that move is right, then it undermines my confidence also. It removes fun, a lot of fun from the aspect of the game because so many things become only like, okay, We have to trust it. Whatever we think is wrong, and we cannot play like this, and so on. So also the ability to think, the ability to get a clear mind was also getting affected for me. So if somebody, I think it's not really necessary to use it to improve. That way I would say. But if you have the composure to not to get distracted by engines, then you can use. But very few people are. So that is why I would say at least people who are beginning chess or until they are reaching some level, they should not use is what I feel. After that, you have your see. If Magnus Carlsen is seeing an engine, you can also play a move that is not suggested by the engine. But how many of us have the freedom or mindset to do that? That we should be honest with ourselves, right? So if I don't feel I have the mindset to do it, I'm completely following that, then it's better off that I stop it. Games are hardly decided by what the engine says. It's more decided by what the humans play over the board. So for a game between two humans, an engine is not really required, is my viewpoint. But it can give some very good ideas as we see in books, or some beautiful moves it can suggest, right?
Yeah.
So maybe for a trainer he can use, but for a player actually he should avoid only, like, because it's then it closets your thinking. It kind of hampers. That is what I feel from my experience. Again, if you have the clearness of vision that you will not get affected, you are going to take your own decision. I'm using engines just to generate some new ideas. I'm using it as a friend or a practicing partner, then it is fine. But
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. As far as I know, so many people cannot do it. So that is why I would recommend my students that they should not use. But I would not say don't try. Try yourself, get into it, see if it is good or bad. If you feel it is bad for you, then you stop it. I wouldn't say completely stop based on my what I'm saying. They
Yeah.
have to experience it themselves. So that way, but I'm saying what I have, my conclusion is, it is not necessary that you need engine to become a great player. That is there. You can or you cannot use engines. That is up to entirely individual. Like, again, all Fischer, Kasparov, Anand, they did not become great players by using engines. Later, Anand started using, but he already became a great player even before that. So it is not a must. But if you can do it within your limits and in a proper frame of mind, you should be welcome to do it. That you should be an honest judge of yourself.
So generally, since you're not using engines, so how do you know the objectivity of a position? How do you know your analysis is correct or wrong without the help of an engine?
I'm actually not bothered about my objectivity now. Like, okay, if it is wrong, I accept that it is a human failure. So I'm usually not bothered. Why should I be correct? Actually, that is my point. I'm not playing chess to be correct. I'm playing chess as an expression of myself. So I don't really care and that it should be correct. And having said that, okay, I cannot talk for myself, but about the other players, like for example, Bobby Fischer 60 memorable games, it has very few errors, analytical errors. He has analyzed deeply. I mean, that is what others have told after analyzing the Very few errors are only there, not much. So, how did he manage to do it without engines? So, it is humanly possible. It's not like it's impossible. Maybe it will take a lot of time, even if you want to reach at the objective truth. But many of us are not persisting just because the easy thing is there. See,
Yeah.
the simple question is this. Let's say I want to know my objective quality of my analysis, but how long will I persist with my analysis is a thing. No. See, if in Fischer's time, maybe he has actually said he has analyzed some position for months.
Yeah.
How many of us would analyze position for months now? Maybe for a day we will analyze. Next day we will be tempted to use the engine to check the correctness of the idea. No.
Yeah.
So aren't we missing some learning in the process of what Fischer did and what we are doing? That is my question. Again, I don't have answers to all this, but this way we can look at it in a different way also. So if we are not having engine, but we are having the intensity to work like Fischer, or if you call it work or passion, whatever, right? Then maybe you will improve even without the engine. So it is just on how a person takes necessary care. But for me, if you say, yeah, I mean, as of now, I'm not caring about the objective quality of my analysis, so I don't bother. If there is a wrong analysis on my part, I will accept it as yeah, I made a mistake.
And okay, I was watching this DVD sometime back of I think it was My Story by Garry Kasparov, and he did it with some English Grandmaster, and he was saying this. that he uses engine as well as uses his own analysis, and he said that this is high level preparation. And okay, obviously he did not reveal so many secrets because it was recorded in I think 90s. So generally, what do you think of that? How can one? Okay, obviously you're saying that without using engine, someone can become a great player. So if somebody have to use engine and also analyze like on their own, how should they use both of those?
Yeah, that you should have that clear mind. No, see, for example, Garry Kasparov. Let's see his own case. Before the engines came, he was already world champion, right?
Yeah,
People considered him as one of the greatest players even then. By 1985, he was world champion, 22 years old. There were no engines, isn't it?
yeah,
Like when good engines started coming and all, it was 2000, almost his retiring time. Okay, 90s there were engines. He used something. I'm not saying he never used engines. So he had this freedom to integrate human and computer thought because he was already such a great player. See, he came to the level of world champion on his own without engines. So he can talk like that. Like later he will use engine and take what is the advantage coming out of it. But is that applicable to a newcomer? That would be my question. And if it is applicable also, maybe it should be done with somebody should monitor this, right?
yeah,
Like let's say you are a newcomer, I'm your coach. I will do the work for you. You will not do. Like, why do you need engine? Just to show you some ideas which humans don't see, right? That's the only advantage of engines. And for analytical perfection. See, analytical perfection is not that important until maybe their world championship matches. And you can go with slightly imperfect analysis. It will show you new ideas. Maybe your coach will monitor and show you the new ideas. He will not let you use the engine. That would be a good way, no? Because your creativity is not spoiled. And actually, in a way, seconds are shielding top players like that. If you see now, they have a lot of taking out the garbage, if you mean, because computer will also generate garbage. So they have to take fish for the right idea, right? So they will monitor for days and show the player the good idea. So that way the player is not getting, who's playing a world championship match, he is not getting bombarded with some irrelevant information for 20 hours. Seconds are actually taking that burden off them.
yeah,
If you So that way, it should not be entirely the player. I think Kasparov would also have done it in this way. I mean, I don't know. Of course, I'm just
yeah,
guessing. He would not be toiling out for 20 hours on engines. Seconds will be doing it. Last 1-2 hours, he will see and okay, this is a good idea, so I will play and high level preparation and so on. So in a way, you need a team here. If you are alone like Fischer, you cannot do this. I think it will hamper your playing style.
yeah, true. And like coming to openings nowadays, people are using this cloud engines and stuff. And like, how would you recommend to your like, what do you do for your students or generally you for yourself as well? Like, you don't use engine for openings or like without. And if you recommend not to use engine for openings as well, like, how should they work on openings?
I would suggest my students actually usually to study from games only, like how it was done before, not to use engines and study. But at the same time, I would give them the freedom to experiment. Like they should not just trust my word, right? They should also try using engines and see if they like. Maybe they'll get bored at some point. They'll come to my view, or they will like that and go in that. That is also fine. Personally, I wouldn't use. I think knowing the model games or the way studying the games, that is enough. Anyway, they would have done the engine work, so you don't have to actually do. So you will know which line is going on and so on. Your analysis will not be perfect, but I'm accepting that as a part of my game. In fact, it will be compensated by being more creative. Just because I'm not having so much information in my head, I can think of something new, even if it is something very little. So that way I can play. And ultimately, if you stick to the basics, it's very difficult to lose in chess. That's what Capablanca said, Lasker has said, and that is true. Even now, even like if you bring them back from the dead and ask them to play, in few tournaments they will stop lose. They will not lose actually. They will
Yeah,
play maybe 4 nights passive and so on. But so what? How will you defeat them? You will not lose if you don't make mistake, right? So that way, chess has that freedom. Like you can actually think up and play. You will not. You are not actually in danger of by not using an engine. But at the same time, if you want to taste its advantages and feel for yourself, you should be free to experiment it. Personally, I have no idea about cloud engines because I have never tried it at all. Regular engines I have tried. Once the cloud engine started, by the time I already started stopped using normal engine, so I was not too interested to go for cloud. People are telling me it's very, very good and so on. Yeah, I mean, with the advent of new technology, everything will be improving in steps only. So it can be good. I'm not saying, I mean, without knowing, I cannot comment it is good or bad. But you have to experiment with it. Again, my simple denominator is, are you able to think, or is it stopping your thinking and just by opening preparation and becoming a zombie and memorizing moves and going just what the cloud engine says? I would say please don't do it. If you are seeing the what cloud engine is suggesting and also able to make your own move, like how Kasparov or Carlsen suggested, then you should do it. If not, you should be very careful. You should monitor yourself. If you are feeling lack of creativity or your your interest in chess is suffering, or you're losing games or something because of this, by forgetting games openings and so on, then you should take a call. Actually, that is what I feel.
Yeah, and since you don't use engines for openings, let's say you're playing against a well-prepared opponent. For this hypothetical case, let's take Magnus Carlsen. Let's say you're playing against Magnus Carlsen. Would you be worried about the opening play?
Yeah, I think it's normal to be worried about the opening play because of habit. Actually, this it was a similar thing happened like Isle of Man 2018. First round, I was paired with Kramnik. Okay, and
Yeah,
I knew the pairing like 10 o'clock, 3 o'clock is the game, or 1:30 or 2 something is the game. So basically, especially as I've grown up, I know. In fact, okay, Magnus Carlsen is a younger generation to me. Kramnik is somebody I thought like he's the pioneer in theory, like opening theory he develops. Actually, people
yeah,
follow Kramnik
exactly.
develops. Even many people to this day they consider him as one of the best prepared players in history, or the best driving force of opening direction. He
Yeah,
has found so many things. Berlin, he played, now we are all playing. Catalan, he started, everybody's playing. Sveshnikov, he played long back, now people are playing, and so on, right?
yeah, yeah,
So I'm paired with Kramnik. Only I know that I'm white. I don't know anything else. And I first started to look at his. I already have a database of Kramnik's games because generally I study thousands of games, 3,000 some games are there. And then I just closed the computer. It's simple, no point. I just went to sleep, had lunch, and came. Because the more you see, the more you will feel overawed by the opponent and so on. So I just went and played C4, and I don't know what struck into him. He thought maybe I am good in openings, or he didn't have time to check or something. He also started avoiding theory. We had a very, I mean, in fact, I even had an advantage, but it ended in a draw. But I was like very happy with the game went. But okay, it's white and black. Maybe it's also a difference in that. I managed to curb my thoughts of being afraid or something by just sleeping it out.
yeah. So, okay. So, coming to like, for example, some people consider their weaknesses as such and such, and they believe that their strengths are, okay, let's say openings or something. And so, like, if they want to get rid of their weaknesses, how should they work on it exactly?
Now there is so much material available. No, like if you have some specific weakness, you can read some books on it, or solve some puzzles or something based on if it is tactical or something, or consult some friends or trainers who can guide you towards that. Targeted training is possible, but if you ask me, in current day mindset, I would say it's not necessary. You should actually be training in a whole-hearted way. Like you should study whole games, like what Fischer did, not just eliminate your weakness. In the process, you are also eliminating your weakness. Is my point. Like if
Yeah,
I'm analyzing a game, yes, like Fischer has done, I will improve my tactics, positional play, end game, opening, middle game, everything, because he's completely analyzing the game. No, like he's immersed in the game, so I don't have to specifically improve my weakness or get better the weakness or like improve my strengths or so on. Nothing of the sort. It
yeah,
just goes on. It like an extension of your thinking process and life. So if you can do that, only then probably you can reach the greatest height. If you can solve part by part, of course, it has its value. There are so many books. You you can for one particular weakness, you can solve more examples and so study it. It will definitely improve. That I think already you can search for whatever is available in the market and do that books. And every book will have a different suggestion, so you have to experiment it. Some books
yeah.
will say only solving part will help. Some books will say you have to analyze and write it down or something, or play training games. So there are many methods. You have to try which is suitable for you.
And do you believe that a chess player should be overall, like he should be focusing on all aspects of chess, or is it okay if he just focuses on just one thing? Let's say he's good at some openings. Should he just? Is it okay if he just focuses on openings and leave the rest?
No, for overall development, I think in the longer term, you should focus on everything, not just your strength, not just your one aspect. See, as of now, you can drive your game towards your strong point. No harm in that. But you should learn other things also because you have to grow as a player. Otherwise, it's not. It's no fun if you're limited as a player in like I have this strength, I have this weakness. I will always play like this. Is you're giving a clear sign to the opponent, no, who is preparing for you. Okay, he likes this, he doesn't like this, and at some point you will be targeted. So why to give that opportunity? If I'm thinking of long term, I would say to learn other things also, not to focus on only one thing.
In like there are different types of people. Some people work hard. For example, there was a chess based interview in which Param Maksudi said he used to work for 15 to 20 hours. Not sure if it's true. And there are people like Vango who says that he works for couple of hours in a week. He usually plays like lot of games and all. So, what do you think? Is it okay to work hard, or is it okay to just play games and not work that much on chess?
Yeah, I mean this just shows okay, 20 hours is a bit difficult to believe what that, but let's assume it's true also. Like and also Wang Hao actually I believe like he's doing other things and so on, and he has shown that he's playing candidates actually. So
Yeah,
he's one players. Uh, it can work both the ways also. So it's not that you have to work hard or you should not work hard. You should not take anything as a rule. You should do what is comfortable to you. As and you have to maintain other aspects also. Now, see, if you are working 20 hours on chess, then what about you'll feel disturbed in sleep and physical aspects. So I don't think 20 hours is correct. I mean, in a normal lifestyle, maybe if he's working 12 hours, I can understand 20 hours is a bit, 15, 20 hours is still pushing it to the limit. Uh, but you should love the 12 hours you're doing. You should not do it just for the fact that I have to get selected to candidates or something.
yeah,
That way, that is another example who shows he's working a couple of hours in a week and still getting to the candidate. So if that is possible, then actually human possibilities are unlimited. We are underestimating it and trying to streamline it in one way, thinking that only hard work will do or so on. Hard work is good, but it's not for everyone. If you are comfortable with working less, then that is fine.
yeah. Yeah. And coming to your career, you became Grandmaster in 2009, if I'm not wrong. So, like, how
Yeah.
happy were you, like, after becoming Grandmasters? What was your level of excitement and happiness?
Uh, I think yeah, I was very very happy in some ways, relieved also because I was close to becoming grandmaster by 2005, and I felt very disappointed by. I was playing in some Asian individual tournament, so that is actually counting for a 20 game norm. I think
Ah,
that's the rule still. So I
yeah,
have a 9 game norm. If you make a norm in Asian, it's counting like two norms. So and I've already crossed 2500. So or I was already probably I was in 2500. I don't remember now. Um, and I played a fantastic tournament actually, one of the best tournaments on my life of my life. I last round I needed a draw with Megaranto Susanto. He's a GM,
yeah,
Indonesian GM. But basically I have played like I played Shashigaran, I played Wang Hao, I played Wang Yue, all those guys in this tournament, and I'm not lost to them. So I've had a great run in the tournament, and so no, what I'm showing is the last round part was not a difficult thing, even though I'm playing a grandmaster and I'm black. But okay, I'm expecting that draw means it's GM title,
yeah,
and I need a draw. Somehow it played on, and actually win I was qualifying for the World Cup, I think. So there was a lot at stake. Win I'm qualifying for World Cup, draw is GM title. So things are looking great, and I'm also much younger than so that 4 years time. So it was very, I was very excited and so on. But it was finally came to a position. He had Rook Bishop and few points. I had Rook Knight and few points in a Berlin endgame. I was black and it was equal, but I couldn't stand the pressure. Somewhere I blundered and I lost. So that was like quite disappointing for me. And I struggled a bit to regain that form. Like It took me 4 years to finish. Okay, I need 2 more norms. In the tournament, I need only 1 norm. So that way I felt really happy. But at some point I started, I was even okay with not becoming Grandmaster. I thought like it can happen that maybe I will not become Grandmaster. Okay, so what? And only at that time actually I started making norms again. So after 2005, some 2-3 years, I was struggling really hard, going for all strong tournaments, doing training and everything. I was failing, missing it badly. I was not even coming close, in fact. And at some point, I started thinking, okay, maybe I'm not even good enough to become Grandmaster. So anyway, at the time I had a job in BPCL. So I have a job. I like chess. I'm traveling. I'm playing. So let me keep playing. Even if it is not becoming a Grandmaster, just play some tournament. So what bad will happen? And once that complete lack of targets came, I became Grandmaster actually quite soon, within a period of few months. So I was very happy. Again, I started this next cycle of, okay, now I'll become 2600 and all, and I failed, and so many things happened. But I think if I look back, I would say I was pretty happy and relieved because of the disappointments earlier. Actually, I felt more in liking with the Grandmaster's title than when I achieved. If I had achieved it very young, I would have felt okay. I just achieved it. No, I spent a lot of time. I mean, it took me 9 years from IM to GM. Actually, for my generation, I think I became IM pretty quick. At the time, IM at 18 or 17, I became was young. Yeah. But if I could have become a GM at 23, it would have been still considered young. Not by present day standards, but by that time.
Yeah.
But since I missed it, I actually used to value it even more. I savor it even more. That I worked a lot to get it. But now looking back, yeah, I mean, it's not. Maybe I made a mistake of too much focusing on goals even after becoming GM, and I stopped. I mean, I'm always in a fight between to enjoy and to achieve, and when I wanted to achieve, I never achieved. That has been my thing in life. So I'm just carrying it on now. Nowadays, okay, don't have any good sides. But I'll play. I don't bother.
And yeah, you have played so many tournaments. Like, which tournaments do you think are the most special to you? Which you will obviously there are so many memories, and you will remember a lot of tournaments. But which is the most special tournament that you have ever played in your life?
Special tournament. Probably the first time I went abroad for a trip on my own, not getting selected by this world or something, not national winning and going. I've gone like that with the team and so on. This BL tournament in 1999 was the first time I went and at the time, okay, it's like going to new country also is a big thing. Very young and so on. Indian team was also going, but I was not part of the Indian team. Indian team, I mean a senior team. I mean, many of the players there are my friends. So, okay, at that time, okay, Shashi Kiran and Saravanan I knew well, but others I did not know. DV Prasad, Abhijit Kunte, all these guys are friends later. But when going, I did not know all that. So I know only 2 people, and I'm traveling alone and so on. That tournament, I went and I made an IM norm. That was my first IM norm. That still is like a special thing in my memory because I think I played fearlessly and like I beat a couple of GMs. I won against Mark Seitlin, old GM from Israel. I won against Vitan. He's also I think Serbian or Croatian. I don't remember. GM, and like I refused many draws. I drew with Florian Georgiou, but he's a historic player like from Romania. I refused his draw, and he was like, he was a bit offended. He said, "Do you know that in the portion you refused my draw, I am better." That he was better. And I answered because I was very young. I didn't answer. He said I had a stomach problem or something. That is why I'm offering you. Finally, draw. I refused his draw and did in a draw. I have very good memories. Like I played fearlessly and made an IM norm. That is still special. Even my GM norms don't rank in comparison to that. I think. And that would be if you pick one tournament, that would be it.
And coming to your best games, what do you think is your best game in your life? If you don't want to name just one, you can name a couple of them. It's your best games.
See, best games, it will be, I don't think I have played a perfect game or something, but there are many good games that I felt good at that point and so on. Like this Asian individual tournament 2005. I won against Shashi Kiran in a game.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have some flaws and something very complicated game, but some sacrifice and win and all that still felt special. And he was the top seed of the tournament. He's a very strong player, whom I know from childhood. So that would be one of my good games. But it just, I mean, it was not any preparation or something. It just happened, some complicated portion. It was very difficult to handle for black. I was the side who was sacrificing and attacking. It was easier for me. That's all. But the way it turned out, it was special. Also, I like my game against Praveen Dipse in 2003, which I had annotated for Informator. It's from Calicut, some Kings Indian, some game. It was good sacrifice and so on. I like the game. Again, nothing special or something. These games, those sacrifices were sticking to my mind because probably it also had to do with the fact that I was playing against really strong players whom I knew from childhood as very strong players, and maybe that way there could be many games which stick to your emotional thing, right? So
Yeah.
that is also, it may not even be best game. Now, for example, as I told you how I won against Saitlin and Switan when I made I am now, both were black, and that game is actually I mean, it's not a special game, but as a youngster to beat very strong experienced players in some normal dull positions was also good. I mean, if I just look at the game now, I may not feel anything special, but with the emotions attached to that game, it is, in fact, it is special. And similarly, I could choose from, even from tournaments have not done well and so on, but those will not be emotionally connected. If I can look back at my games, some of my games I really enjoy and like I could name some probably 10-20 games like that. Game was so good in completely by fluke. Like, I didn't know what is happening, just playing something. Opponent also probably was playing something. It turned out the game was so a brilliant combination will come or something fantastic will come, and that is what I enjoy chess most. It's
Yeah.
everything is happening, but outside forces. You are not planning it. It's not like I do see. I don't have a planned combination where I saw everything like how Alakin did against Reddy or 15 moves and all. I don't have like that. I do something. In the process, something will happen. Of course, there will be miscalculation and so on. But I actually enjoy that more as my best game rather than completely being perfect. I don't have a perfect game in any case. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think already 2 hours have finished. If we have some more time, we'll do a rapid fire section if you don't mind. Uh,
Okay.
so before going there, I am Nitin is saying, I Kidambi na sama stylish இருக்கீங்க.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm coming for a short shave of beard and all. So
Okay.
if you had told me
Yeah.
so, then I wouldn't have.
Okay. Anyway, let's come to the rapid fire questions. So first of
Yeah.
all, who do you think? Who is your favorite chess player?
Bobby Fischer.
Bobby. And like I will tell some of the chess players, and you need to name one quality which you like the most from these players. So
Okay.
Emanuel Lasker,
Um, philosophical thought.
um, Paul Morphy,
Daring chess.
Wilhelm Steinitz,
Wilhelm Steinitz. The way he theorized chess principles that I like. Yeah.
yeah. Viswanathan Anand,
Viswanathan Anand. The chess symbol in India. I mean, chess is
yeah.
popular in India because yeah. So the chess symbol.
So one Bobby Fischer,
Bobby Fischer. Chess fanaticism. Chess is life, almost like that
yeah.
kind of attitude.
Your opinion on computer chess? Recently, Deepan Chakravarti told me that nowadays he started studying, this TCEC tournament and all. So, your opinion on computer chess?
Um, Actually, there are some very great games. Like I sometimes Deepan sends me, or I see Sadler will be writing about it in some positions. Uh, Also, I like this book by Sadler, this Game Changer. about how after Alpha Zero some things have changed. So I do like the beauty of the games, but I mean I cannot follow all the games, and I don't have the patience for that because computer chess is still computer chess, not human chess. Uh, but some very nice ideas are being shown. If as a chess amateur observer, I like that. I'm not too much following into their style of play and so on in detail. But yeah, some really nice ideas and games have been shown in computer chess, which I like when just looking at the game.
Yeah, and this question is from Mr. I am Saravanan, and is asking how much is appearance and dressing at the board important for a chess player?
Uh, I think he knows that I'm not attaching importance to it. I, okay. I mean, personally, I don't attach that much importance to it, but many of my heroes and top players they attached a lot of importance to it, and at least it carries some value. I don't deny that. Just because I am not following, I shouldn't bring the importance of it down. It does if it helps in confidence and presenting a good face to people. It definitely has value.
Yeah, and if there is only one game which you can put, which is the greatest chess game ever played in the history of chess?
So this will be difficult. I mean, like, so many games. Greatest. I'm really not able to answer. I mean, so many games are. I have. I really cannot say. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
have a one. Yeah.
and some book recommendations to the following topics. First of all, books to improve middle game.
Books to improve middle game. Hmm. Now there are a lot of books. Okay, from olden times, I liked Max US books on some strategies and how middle game. He has actually written two books on middle game itself,
Yeah,
and and Kramer. Some those books I like a lot of examples and play. Uh, but more so, I think best games of players with their own annotations. That
yeah.
will automatically be a good way to improve middle game.
Your favorite books to study, biographical works and best games.
Your what? I didn't understand the
I
question.
mean, the favorite, the books, like biographical books or best games books.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Out of that, you want me to
Yeah,
say which is your favorite?
yeah. Which is your
Okay.
favorite?
Russians versus Fischer is one of the favorites. Lot of stories. Uh, many such books. Oh, I cannot again say one favorite. From London to Elista is a great book. Stories about this how Bariv and another person who were like recounting experiences working with Kramnik. Then best games. Best games since I spent a lot of time in childhood with Alakin's best games. That always remains one of my favorite books. Purely by games. I mean, not with stories and all that. And my 60 memorable games of Fisher. That was also one of my very earlier books. So still holds a special place to my heart. And biographical. I generally have a lot of biographies, but I've not read everything. Here and there, some Timmons books and all. Garry Kasparov's my great predecessors, of course, a very very great source for stories as well as games, right? So
Yeah,
it's completely forgot about that. That's influential for like a lot of people.
yeah. So one final question: what is your final advice to the chess players and the viewers?
Chess players and viewers again. First advice, everything is same. Enjoy chess. It is a great boon to be being able to play chess and enjoy such a game which is filled with nuances, which is an art, which is so many things in it plays, right? It is sport, it's an art, it is a God-given boon that we are chess players. So make full use of it and have a good like make it enrich your life with it. That would be
Yeah.
my advice.
So thank you for coming to this show, for sharing your knowledge, lot of knowledge and your tips on various aspects. And also you shared your stories in this tournaments before becoming grandmaster and so on. So thank you for coming once again. It was a pleasure to having you on the show. And yeah,
Thanks, thanks, Karthik. Yeah,
and like good luck to your coaching or your chess as well for everything. And yeah, thank you guys for being patient and watching till the end. So yeah, that is it, I guess.
thanks, thanks. Yeah, bye
Thank
bye,
you.
bye bye to all of you.
Bye.